Hi, in today's video, we will yet again list down some of the most noteworthy titles you won't regret watching. So, make sure na ready yung mga notepads nyo kasi medyo marami-rami din to. Actually, pinakamarami so far. And we will do a movie ranking for the first time with my top 10 stop motion films of all time. No, it's actually not of all time. One, kasi sobrang daming feature films at short stories na ginawa in stop motion since 1896. It's important to note din na recently lang nag-boom ang modern stop motion because of technology. We now have these monsters at our disposals to make things more efficient in terms of creating stop motion animated films. A far more better way than what they were doing almost 100 years ago. So these titles are only contemporaries and mostly 21st century films lang. So recently lang to halos lahat except for one title from the 70s na nag-decide ako i-include. But let's just save that one for later. We're going to rank these titles sa medyo unusual na paraan. Instead of ranking it by quality, we'll do it from the lightest theme to the darkest. Napansin ko kasi na may mga preconceived notions yung mga tao na pambata or cartoonish lang kapag sinabing stop motion animation. I don't know, siguro dahil sa medium na ginagamit nila mostly or usually like clay and puppetry. And most probably si Postman Pat, Bob the Builder, or Pingu. Yung mga unang pumapasok sa isip pag sinabing stop motion. But when you actually look at the history of stop motion in filmmaking, mapapansin mo na mostly, if not all, mostly ng mga ginagawang feature films at short stories ay may mga dark and twisted concepts. Some are even banned from TV because they're too disturbing for the young audiences.
Hello,
Who are you?
an angel.
What's your name?
Satan.
Uh-oh.
And that's why I decided to do this kind of ranking instead. And it just so happened na I personally prefer movies na may mga dark at existential themes. Kasi for me, not only mas may mga matututunan ka, but most of them can actually hit home and become this personally relatable film na i-cherish mo na moving forward. And for me, if a film can speak to you, then it's probably a movie worthy of your precious time. And it probably deserves a high spot on this list. First up, we have Wallace and Gromit in the case of Were Rabbit. You probably have seen this too somewhere in a commercial or a TV show or maybe in this movie. This is a 2005 stop motion film that was done using a clay, or as they call it, clay motion. Aardman or Aardman Animations, the British producers behind this film, are well known for this kind of medium. The same creators behind Chicken Run, Shaun the Sheep, Flushed Away, Arthur Christmas, and others. It's categorized as a supernatural horror comedy, and it is definitely the most slightest, family oriented film in this list that are made both for kids and adults. The creators often referred to this film as the first vegetarian horror film ever. The story is pretty decent and original and fun. And if you've watched enough movies, maa-appreciate mo rin yung mga ginawa nilang homage or tributes to some classic animated films na ginawa for the past decade. Number 9, Chicken Run. Yes, this Chicken Run. Yet again, another Aardman animated film. Mas nagustuhan ko 'to kaysa sa Wallace and Gromit kasi yung concept niya na mala Prison Break or mala Shawshank Redemption.
Listen, we'll either die free chickens or die trying.
Are those the only choices?
But of course, with a touch of comedy na hindi mawawala sa lahat ng Aardman animated films. And to this day, it still remains as the highest grossing stop motion animated film of all time, earning a worldwide total of $224 million. Number 8, Coraline. Coraline is a stop motion film written and directed by Henry Selick. If you're not familiar with this guy, siya yung kamukha kay Tim Burton sa The Nightmare Before Christmas when Tim was busy doing some other projects. I think Alice in Wonderland or yung animated movie na Nine, if you still remember that awesome movie, yung pinagkakabasihan niya nun. And it's because of this kaya minsan napagkakamalang Tim Burton yung movie na to. But it was actually produced by a completely different studio called Laika, a studio worth mentioning in this video. Laika Animation Studios is a studio dedicated to creating films in stop motion only. And I honestly think na sila yung Studio Ghibli ng stop motion sa ngayon. Most noticeable siguro yung extreme na dedication at passion sa paggawa or paggamit ng traditional na medium. One crew member was even hired specifically para magtahi ng mga miniature sweaters or clothings for the puppet characters. And they used needles almost as thin as a human hair. Come to think of it, guys, these people could have just used 100% CGI animation, just like what others do. But no, they want to do it the hard way despite the fact na underappreciated sila ng mga tao. You know that these guys are not in it for the money lang. And I think there's beauty in that. Coraline is Laika's first feature film. And although this film is categorized as dark fantasy horror, I don't think this is dark at all. Siguro dahil creepy lang yung overall sound and characters aesthetic, but it's actually a wholesome family movie with concrete meaning and lesson behind the story. If nag-enjoy ka sa mga fantasy films like Narnia or Spiderwick Chronicles, then you should definitely check this one out. Number 7, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. This one is still a family movie, in my opinion. But the theme, I guess, can now be read in different ways by adults. Ganun din sa Coraline, actually. But now the idea of death is being introduced to us already. All the while, the movie being a musical. So it gave the perfect balance for the young and adult viewers talaga. May mga movies din sa team na stop motion din, like The Nightmare Before Christmas at Frankenweenie. But I had to choose one for this list only, and I'm sure it's Corpse Bride. It's not every day we get a musical stop motion animated movie about love and death with macabre and gothic theme, all the while still being accessible and appreciated by everybody, regardless of their age. Number 6, Fubo and the Two Strings. Definitely in my top 5, kung hindi lang lightest to darkest yung ginawa nating order of ranking sa video na to. This is a 2016 stop motion film that was produced by none other than Laika, yet again. This is the most ambitious film in this list. They have pushed limits and broke records. The skeleton demon in the movie? It's only the largest stop motion puppet to be built, standing at 18 feet tall. It also holds the record of longest stop motion film so far, beating out Coraline at 1 hour and 41 minutes long. The director also confirmed that the film is also an homage to Akira Kurosawa and Hayao Miyazaki, two of my favorite dudes in filmmaking. You can only imagine my bias towards this movie. So if subjective lang yung ranking natin dito, definitely baka number 2 or number 3 yung nakuhang spot nitong Kubo sa list na to. But yes, it's still not as dark as the next titles. Although it's the first title in this list that nag-introduce ng concept ng death or loss in a more serious way. Sa Corpse Bride kasi wala naman talagang namatay doon or namatayan. Pero merong mga patay na nagsising and dance. So, Number five, Isle of Dogs or I Love Dogs. Sabi kasi nila meron daw play of words na nangyari dito sa Isle of Dogs na title at I Love Dogs na phrase. So, I don't think if intention talaga ng mga filmmakers yan. But it's a fun idea. It's fun to think. I Love Dogs is a stop motion film set in a dystopian future with cute dogs. Written and directed by Wes Anderson. And if you're not familiar with Wes Anderson, it's easy to recognize his works kasi obsessed siya sa mga symmetrical shots at straight camera angles, making all of his movies just so visually pleasing. Wala pa naman siya sa realm ng pagka-dark na to the point na disturbing na yung movie. And I guess it's only fair na PG-13 yung parents guide ng film na to. So yeah, what makes it more leaning to the dark side, I guess, is because things such as ideologies and politics are now being introduced, which could only be meant for an older audience, of course. It's the most timely and the most relevant of all the movies in this list. Dictatorship, pandemic, and major political issues are the main recurring themes of this movie. What a perfect time to watch, diba? So I suggest siguro unahin nyo muna tong Isle of Dogs for that matter. Because now's the perfect time to get a good grasp of what this movie is actually telling us. Number four, My Life as a Zucchini. This is where it actually gets dark and serious already. This stop motion film is about a boy named Zucchini, or Courgette in the original French release, a nickname that was given to him by his neglecting, alcoholic mother, who he accidentally killed as she was about to beat the hell out of Zucchini. Well, shit happens, I guess, when you're a shit mom. He was sent to an orphanage along with other abandoned kids. And the interaction between them has been the redemption of this film. And that's really important. Because if you're gonna make a film that's heavy or dark or repulsive to watch, make sure na may point yung movie mo. And that's one reason why you should never watch a Serbian film. De, joke lang. Pwede nyo naman paroorin yun. Bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. Number three, Fantastic Planet. I know what you're thinking. What the heck is this? Akala ko ba stop motion lang tayo dito? Well, actually, this is still considered as a stop motion animation. Instead of plays and puppets, the medium that they use here are paper cutouts. This was written and directed by French filmmakers René Laloux and Roland Topar in 1971. But the idea and the concept of this film is so ahead of its time, even in our time. And behind its weird drawings and style, it's actually a very insightful and a socially relevant movie. Basically, the movie shows us these humanoid aliens asserting dominance to these small human beings. It was implied in the movie na we actually created these robots or aliens. So, kumbaga, post-singularity period na to. Tapos na yung era ng Detroit. Nakasingit pa yun, no? And despite the fact na maraming times na pinapakita yung mga maliliit na tao dito, I think we can all reflect more sa mga humanoid aliens na to. 'Cause there's just so much similarities between us and them. They are inconsiderate, close-minded, arrogant, and most importantly, they're afraid of progress. A thing that will definitely affect their usual way of doing things and what they have always believed in. The weird stuff behind this film has only made sense to me. So this is a completely different world, right? So isn't it just normal if it doesn't look like Earth? Kasi that's the whole point of the movie, right? Sa mundo nila, I'm sure meron ding fantastic planet Earth. And they're just as weirded out with us as you are weirded out with them. Number two on the list, Mary and Max, an Australian adult stop motion independent film written and directed by Adam Elliott. This 91-minute film took 5 freaking years to be made. Sobrang interesting ng movie na 'to, guys. Nung natapos ko 'to, sinearch ko agad kung gaano kalaki yung budget na ginastos nila dito and malaki ba yung revenue na nakita nila after showing it worldwide. And to my surprise, the initial budget for this film was only 8 million Australian dollars, or almost $6 million lang. And their total gross worldwide, $1.7 million. What the fuck? Luging-lugi pala sila dito. There are lots of things I think why this has happened. For starters, it's not made in US and again independent lang sila. Meaning to say hindi sila hawak ng Big Five ng Hollywood, which only means this movie is not heavily promoted or advertised. And lastly, it's just not made for kids. It's a happy, sad, existential movie, but it's one of the most meaningful and relatable movie of all time. If I am to list down my all-time favorite films, definitely nasa top 5 ko tong Mary and Max. Last but not the least, Anomalisa, the only R-rated film in this list for a lot of good reasons. Anomalisa is a psychological stop-motion film written and directed by Charlie Kaufman and Duke Johnson. It's about a man named Michael Stone who's staying in this hotel called Frigoli, which is a direct reference for Michael's condition. The Frigoli delusion is a rare disorder in which a person holds a delusional belief that different people are in fact a single person who changes appearance or is in disguise. It's the reason why iisa lang yung mga mukha ng mga nakakasalubong ni Michael throughout the film. Well, not until he met the unique-faced Lisa. Some found the story just human or relatable. Some found it absurd. And there are lots of ways on how to read this movie, especially na they left the ending open for interpretations. But it's definitely heavy and dark for audiences regardless of age. I've personally even found the whole story of the movie as pointless. But then again, to quote the movie itself, sometimes there's no lesson. And that's a lesson in itself. Okay. Pero seryoso, may point naman. Charlie Kaufman, the director in the movie, is well known for his realism in his movies, such as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. These are the type of films na mahirap ipanood sa karamihan, especially for those na maikli lang yung mga attention span. But regardless of that, I still highly encourage you to watch this kind of film. Madali na manood ng mga ganito kasi meron na tayong YouTube ngayon. Dali na lang, enter mo yung title and then sundan mo ng explained or analyzed. Seriously, it's actually fun to know other people's take or interpretation in a certain film. Lalo na kung wala ka talaga naintindihan dun sa pinanood mo. And I guess the darkest and the saddest part of this video is the fact na yung mga filmmakers behind Anomalisa and Mary and Max actually they're investing more than what they are earning back. So maybe start supporting independent films from now on. And that's it for this video. Ang haba nun, Diyos ko. I hope I didn't just waste the 12 minutes of your time. But if you like this video, hit that like button. And I'm hoping na you'll share this as well to your social. Also, I want to know your thoughts about this list. And may mga suggestions kayo, kindly leave them down in the comments below. And let's talk about it. Thank you so much for watching V for Variety. See you next video. Peace.